Hey everybody, it's Caitlin. Welcome back to CoronaChat. Today is Tuesday, April 28th, and for the last several weeks we've been seeing headlines claiming that people in China, Japan, and South Korea who were cured of COVID-19 are now being reinfected. So how true is this, right? Yesterday I mentioned in passing that this might have something to do with testing. Specifically, if the first test gave a false negative saying that the person didn't have coronavirus even though they did, then a second test giving the correct answer would make us think that this person had been cured and then reinfected, when in reality it was just that they had never been cured. Because of this, the World Health Organization and other public health organizations have been recommending that all COVID-19 patients take two tests, right, at least 24 hours apart. And then if both tests come back negative, then the person can be considered cured and permitted to go home. But what if this protocol was followed and the person still tested positive a week later? Does that mean they've been reinfected? The short answer, like with most questions about this virus, is that we don't know for sure. But most experts say that they don't think that what's happening here is reinfection. There are two other possible scenarios that most experts think are much more likely. So the first is that they didn't collect enough material, enough virus particles with the nasal swab, right? So this might be because they didn't swab deep enough into the nasal cavity, for example, or because the virus is now located more in the lungs than in the nose, right? And so if the nasal swab doesn't pick up enough virus particles, the amount of virus on the test might be below the detection limit, and so the test gives an incorrect result. The detection limit is the minimum number of virus particles that need to be on the test for the test to be able to detect the virus, right? So this person, again, wasn't reinfected, it's just that the test couldn't detect their infection. Another option might have to do with how sensitive the test is. And here I'm using the word sensitive the way we normally think of it, right? Not in the special public health way that I was using yesterday. These tests are trying to detect viral RNA. This is the genetic material that coronaviruses have instead of DNA like we do, right? If the test is very sensitive, it might be able to detect a very small amount of viral RNA that might be left over after your body has effectively fought off the infection. And this leftover viral RNA isn't enough to make you sick, or even maybe enough to infect somebody else, but it might be enough to make the test come back positive. So it is possible that someone could test positive, making it seem like they've been reinfected, even if they aren't sick anymore. So remember, when doing these tests, sometimes different tests made by different companies are used, right, depending on what was available. And these different tests can have different detection limits. Remember how we said yesterday that not all tests are made equal, right? So we could, for example, see a case where the brand of test that was used in the hospital might have a higher detection limit. So anybody with a really low viral load isn't going to, get picked up as somebody who's positive for coronavirus. That same person could test positive with a test with a lower detection limit, even though the amount of virus in their body is the same. So something like this might explain why someone could test negative in the hospital with one brand of test and then test positive once back at home when community testing is done with a different brand of test, right? Now, just to make this clear, these are all hypotheses and we're not sure what the truth is yet. It's also possible that the alternative hypothesis that people are being reinfected is true. It's just that reinfection is pretty rare, especially so soon after being sick. So we would need extraordinary evidence to back up this extraordinary claim. Now, as we've mentioned on CoronaChat before, it's not quite clear whether we will develop immunity to this new coronavirus, and if we do, how long that immunity will last. But if COVID-19 is anything like SARS, which is caused by a coronavirus that's very similar to the one that causes COVID, we can expect that people who get sick will develop immunity that lasts for, 2 to 3 years. But we won't know that for sure until we're a few years out from the start of the pandemic, right? So again, this starts to answer a little bit of that question about reinfection. If people are developing immunity, then they shouldn't be able to be reinfected. But once we're a little further down the line, we should have a better sense of whether what we're seeing is a function of some of these testing problems or actually truly reinfection. So your good news for today. New Zealand is reporting that they have managed to quash community transmission. They had no cases on Sunday, followed by just 5 cases on Monday. Now, obviously this isn't zero, but having so few cases means that New Zealand can use contact tracing and selected quarantine to prevent further spread, right? So just quarantine the people who are sick and anybody who had any contact with them, as opposed to having everybody quarantined. This lets everybody else go back to normal. And so the country is starting to open slowly, and we'll be following very closely in the days and weeks to come to get an idea of how well this is working and if we can use it to reopen in other places when the time comes. So that's it for today. As always, drop your comments and questions below. Gosh, what else? Oh, we're all in this together. And take care of each other. Stay safe, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.